Welcome back to our series of lectures on the fundamentals of logistics. My name is Chris Lee, and over the course of these 14 lectures, I will be providing a background on the profession of logistics and supply chain management. In our previous lecture, we discussed how information technology impacts the management of supply chains and decision-making in logistics. In this lecture, I will be discussing organizational and managerial issues in logistics. Organizational structure focuses on how work roles and administrative mechanisms are allocated in an effort to integrate and control work. There are two major structures for logistics, fragmented and unified, and two approaches to structure, centralized and decentralized. Let's examine these in a little bit more detail. In a fragmented logistics structure, logistics activities are managed in multiple departments throughout an organization. For example, a company might assign outboard transportation, demand forecasting, warehousing management, and customer service to the marketing department. Whereas procurement, inbound transportation, packaging, and materials handling might be the responsibility of the manufacturing department. One issue with a fragmented logistics structure is that due to the fact that logistics activities are scattered throughout the firm, they likely remain subservient to the objectives of the main department in which they are housed. Also, because effective and efficient logistics is predicated on a high degree of coordination among logistics activities, such coordination can become difficult when the logistics activities are spread throughout an organization. In a unified logistics structure, multiple logistics activities are combined into one department and subsequently managed as a single department. A basic unified logistics structure might have responsibility for transportation, inventory management, and warehousing. A more progressive unified structure would include these basic activities, plus several additional logistics activities such as order management and customer service. An advanced unified structure would include both the basic and progressive activities, along with several other additional logistics activities such as demand forecasting and procurement. Regardless of how many or what type of logistics activities are managed, the unified logistics structure is often better positioned than the fragmented structure to achieve coordination across the various activities of an organization. An additional issue in terms of organizational structure is whether the logistics department should be centralized or decentralized. A centralized logistics organization implies that the company maintains a single logistics department that administers the related activities for the entire company from the home office. A decentralized logistics organization, in contrast, means that logistics-related decisions are made separately at the divisional or product group level, and often in different geographical regions. There are advantages to both the centralized and decentralized approaches. The primary advantage of centralization is its relative efficiency. The primary advantage of decentralization Organizational design is much broader than the familiar series of boxes and lines that detail reporting relationships in a typical organization. Organizational design is concerned with issues such as who makes work-related decisions and the appropriate communication channels between workers and managers. Broadly speaking, three primary types of organizational design are used: hierarchical, also called functional, matrix, and network. Hierarchical or functional organizational design has its foundations in the command and control military organization, where decision-making and communication often follow a top-down flow. One major advantage of the hierarchical design is the flexibility it offers in exercising command within the organization, in the sense that no one manager commands more than a limited number of employees. One disadvantage of the hierarchical design is that recent changes in society, such as individuality and questioning authority, are not easily accommodated in a command and control organizational design philosophy. In a matrix design, one employee might have cross-functional responsibilities. For example, the category manager of small appliances at a particular organization might report to logistics, marketing, and production executives, and this manager would have responsibility for the production, marketing, and logistics of small appliances. One advantage of this design is that the category manager can be very responsive to various customer requirements. One major disadvantage is that a matrix organization tends to be more costly because more managerial level employees are necessary in comparison to a hierarchical style organization. Both the hierarchical and matrix forms of organization are well suited for environments dominated by costly information and restricted communication, constraints that have been lessened in the past 20 years by the internet and modern technology. Moreover, hierarchical and matrix organizations flourish when there are a limited number of decision alternatives, as well as limited time constraints on making a decision. However, the contemporary business environment is increasingly characterized by an ever-increasing number of decision alternatives and shorter time windows for making decisions. This is where a network organization design might create an organization that is responsive to the parameters of the contemporary business environment. A key attribute of a network organizational design is a shift from function to process. In a functional hierarchical philosophy, products and processes were divided into easy-to-complete tasks. A process philosophy, by contrast, focuses on combining tasks into value-creating products and activities. The network organization's emphasis on process and value creation has important implications for organizational design. Because processes and value creation tend to be customer-focused, organizational design should facilitate an organization's interaction with its customers. From a logistics perspective, a network organizational design in logistics is manifest in terms of relevancy, responsiveness, and flexibility. The logistics discipline would be relatively easy if it only entailed organizing a logistics system and then putting that system into operation. However, well-run organizations recognize that logistics systems must not only be organized, but they must also be properly managed. Major managerial issues in logistics include productivity, quality, risk, reverse logistics, and complexity. Productivity is a very important managerial issue because it provides insight into the efficiency, or sometimes inefficiency, at which an organization utilizes its resources. Productivity can be broadly defined as the amount of output of an item divided by the amount of input of the resources required for that item. An understanding of this relationship leads to the recognition that there are but 3 ways to improve productivity. Reduce the amount of input while holding output constant, increase the amount of output while holding input constant, or increase output while at the same time decreasing input. Understanding the 3 ways to improve productivity is important to the logistics manager because several logistics activities, particularly warehousing and transportation, are heavily dependent on human labor. For this reason, productivity improvement efforts in logistics are often directed towards increasing the amount of output while holding input constant. Another consideration is excess capacity, or unused available space, which can be unproductive because it may result in the purchase of additional equipment or facilities, a situation that might lead to additional costs, inputs, but not necessarily to additional productivity output, thus resulting in lower production. Logistics service quality relates to a firm's ability to deliver products, materials, and services without defects or errors to both internal and external customers. The issue of quality in logistics often represents a delicate balancing act for organizations. For instance, if an organization provides logistics services of inferior quality when delivering their products, it runs the risk of lowering the customer's perceived value of the seller's product. But if an organization provides higher levels of logistics service quality than their customers value or require, it may be paying for something that is not needed by either the consumer or the organization. This increased cost without an associated perceived value can affect the competitiveness of a firm's offerings. So it is important to understand issues of quality and strive to match the quality levels of the logistics service they provide with the expectations of their customers and the competitive landscape in which they operate. Logistics systems are complex networks of companies and activities that are constantly exposed to potential unpredictable disruptions. Risk is anything that might cause a loss for a firm, and this risk can take a variety of forms as it relates to the management of logistics activities. For example, regularly occurring risks involve things such as changes in demand or the potential for a damaged shipment, whereas catastrophic risk, such as earthquakes or other natural disasters, would be irregular risks. Two additional risks to logistics are pilferage and theft. Theft, or stealing, is defined as the taking and removing of personal property, with the intent to deprive the rightful owner of it. Pilferage refers to employee theft, as opposed to the theft from the outside. So in other words, insider theft. Unfortunately, pilferage cannot be totally eliminated, and both warehousing and transportation operations are especially vulnerable to pilferage. Managing pilferage can be challenging for the logistics manager. And the managing of pilferage begins with the hiring process. In fact, one of the best ways to manage pilferage is to avoid hiring people who are predisposed to steal, such as people with credit, alcohol, or drug problems. Some organizations today utilize psychological tests as part of their hiring process in an effort to identify prospective employees who might be susceptible to pilferage. The logistics uncertainty pyramid model has been established to identify uncertainty sources that can affect the risk exposure for logistics activities. The model identifies several types of uncertainty, including shipper, customer, carrier, control system, and external sources. The model can help logistics managers structure their examination of potential risks that could influence their firm's logistics system. The annual cost of reverse logistics, which refers to the process of managing returned goods, exceeded $100 billion in just the United States by 2009. In addition, Reverse logistics can be 4 to 5 times more expensive than forward logistics. The reverse logistics process focuses on 3 critical factors: why products are returned, how to optimize reverse logistics, and whether reverse logistics should be managed internally or outsourced to a third party. The degree of complexity in a logistics system is largely a function of the dynamic, global, diverse, and highly uncertain nature of relationships and activities that are involved in today's business environment. Logistics managers are increasingly faced with the challenge of managing this complexity both within their firm and across the network of relationships that exist in their supply chain. The increased data challenges, decision-making variability, and relationship intricacies pose difficult situations for logistics managers. In this lecture, we presented a discussion of organizational and managerial issues in logistics. In our next lecture, we will examine the concept of supply chain management. Thank you for joining me for this presentation. Be sure to check out the other video presentations we have here on this YouTube channel and sign up for notifications of future releases. For questions about this presentation or ideas for future presentations, you can email me at cnlbydesign@gmail.com. As always, thank you for watching.